Good in the Head. My name is Pete Jones, and I'll be your host today. I am Good in the Head. Today, I have on the show a guest that I'm super excited to have with us. Um, can you pronounce your name first and last for us?
No worries. Hello, Pete. Thank you for having me. My name is Yanatha. First name is Yanatha. Last name is DeSouvre. On Instagram, I have Goodman Chronicles. My IG handle is Goodman Chronicles.
Very good. I'm glad that I asked you to do that because Yanatha, I was thinking it was maybe something else like Yanatha, or I was coming up with all kinds of things, and I just know you by Good Man Chronicles as a good man.
Yeah.
And we actually met through Instagram quite a while back, and I've been following your content, what you've been putting out on the daily the whole time. And the thing that I love and appreciate about you the most is the empowerment that has come from being exposed to the content that you share through all the ups and downs, the highs, the lows. You've been authentically you the entire time. And I've absolutely loved being a part of the opportunity to enjoy seeing your experience through your eyes and through the content that you've been putting out. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for our connection. That's the power of social media, right? You never know who you meet. You never know the impact that will happen. And still, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to tell, so much more we can share with others that are listening in about the journeys of life and that they're not alone, and letting them know that there's a lot to grow from.
Yeah, I love that. And that is actually why I created the Good in the Head podcast and the Good in the Head website and this whole movement is simply to extract from others every bit of knowledge and wisdom and experience through the possibility of, maybe you've got something you've tried out that I'm struggling with, and it can be my roadmap to a future, a better version of myself that will be more empowered to then turn around and do the same for others. And so that's what I'm looking for today. All the tips, the tricks, the tools, the habits, perspectives, beliefs that have empowered you to not merely survive through life, but then thrive. I'm all about that.
Definitely. And yes, it's more than just surviving. So I was born in Haiti and raised in Brooklyn, New York. At the age of 5, I came here when I was 3 years old in the United States. At the age of 5, I experienced xenophobia before I can even spell cat. I was spat on and told, Haitian, Haitian, go back to your nation. I was told I had HBO. I'm like, I don't even have cable. What is that? So HBO stood for Haitian body odor. At the age of 7, my Sunday school teacher was shot and killed. At the age of 9, I survived a barbershop shooting. This was all in the 80s in New York City. My mom and dad's like, we gotta go. We can't stay here.
Yeah.
So we moved to Philadelphia, but then my welcoming red carpet was red tip crack bottles on my way to middle school. How, that really affected my mental health. So much so that Mr. Jones, I don't know how many of your listeners have ever had, or even you, Mr. Jones, had ever had an AOL account. You remember back during
Back
that
in the
time,
day. Oh yeah.
the day they had AIM accounts. So I had an AIM account. But the crazy thing, because what I saw on television, when people that look like me were told that we would die before 21, we were criminalized and going to jail. Yes, I was raised in the church, but the church didn't go with me in school. The church didn't deal with the bullies I encountered, and the church didn't see the crack bottles in front of us. Um, and so those things affected my mental health so much so that my password in AOL was die before 21.
Oh wow. Have
I'll
you
be
ever heard that message? You see what we're looking for, and the reticular activating system will literally listen to what we're telling ourselves and then try to go out and only focus on that which we're telling ourselves to then create our lives with and for us.
correct. The
That
universe,
scares me.
it's scary because the universe is speaking to you. And if you listen to only or pay attention to the only thing only negative things and try not to find that balance, you'll end up getting caught up in it and in a way that you may not be able to come back from.
Yeah.
But fortunately, and this is why we're here to inspire others, right? Um, Wyclef Jean. Wyclef Jean, the member of the Fuji, sang in my church before he became a Fuji and threw the Haitian flag on his back. Haiti was the first truly independent nation in the Western Hemisphere. We became independent in January 1st, 1804. I know there's another country that became independent in July 4th, 1776, but not every man and woman and child were free. But in
Hmm.
Haiti, we were. And then I took that DNA that was in me and reminded me this life is not about me. It's about the impact that are those that are surrounded by me. Yes, those things that I go through, those things that we've all gone through, is there to shape our character, to shape us, to tell us, to encourage us to find the strength within ourselves, to find the light within ourselves, because we're surrounded by darkness, right? And so I got a chance to. The funny thing is, one of the things that saves me, and I hope it's there for others, is the arts. In the midst of the bullying, in the midst of that xenophobia, I started writing a lot. I wrote a lot of poetry since I was the age of 7. I'll be 43 this Friday on
Nice.
April 16th. I learned to play music at a young age. And comic books also saved me because I read a lot of comic books. My world wasn't the best, so I escaped into another. But I
Yeah.
used all of those things to change my world. So fast forward years later, I've done things where I've written to acknowledge the challenges and and recognize them, but also identify where I'm strong, identify where I'm different, identify how I can give, I identify where I can grow. And it's not easy, but step by step, day by day, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Still today, I go through it, but I know, what I've been through is not because of me, but it's because to serve others, to inspire others, to realize that they're not alone. We all have gone through our challenges. We all been tested and not have our hot messes. But in that test, there are testimonies, and in that messes, there are messages. So
I
that's
love
why.
that. That's beautiful. The way you articulated that is really empowering. I kind of want to go back to when you were a young man, a child, 7, 8, 9 years old. You said that the arts, journaling, writing, and comic books, having a sort of a superhero to look up to, um, and people that you admire and want to emulate.
Yeah.
And I think for children, those are incredible tools to turn to, especially in times of despair and hopelessness. So many babies now are on social media and they are downloading information into their subconscious that creates their self image, to then go out and create their outside environment. And when they're able to create an inner environment like you did, amidst the chaos and the turmoil of an outer environment that can be super destructive,
Yeah.
what a blessing, man. And so, what kind of other tricks and tools, different beliefs, that you expanded into, or certain habits? Do you have a morning routine that you adhere to? What are the most empowering things as an adult now that you've learned over the years that have helped you the most?
As Great question. As an adult, I'm still learning. One of my favorite,
Always.
always, and that's something to remind everybody. Even until your last breath, you're going to be learning about
Yes.
yourself and about others. It's an ongoing journey, and it's not about the destination. Destination is a goal, but there are destinations for each day. One of my favorite characters in the comic books was Peter Parker.
Hmm.
Why Peter Parker?
He was a nerd. I love that guy.
Yeah, I love that
Mine
guy.
too.
Yeah, Peter Parker, complete nerd, um, focused on studies. I was not a scholar. I was a BC student. I didn't do so well. And what happened with Peter Parker is that despite his superpowers, he still was bullied. Despite
Mhm.
everything, he still had his tough moments in life. He still had to live life.
Yeah. And he was
Right?
kind and good, and he had a good intent.
He had a good intent. He was kind and good. And no matter what, some things still didn't go the way he wanted. And so I totally resonated with that.
Me
And
too.
as an adult, one way I was able to write my first or my second novel, all my writings was I gave myself discipline at night when things were quiet, when the world was a little bit more quiet, but I hear less sirens and everyone's asleep. I'd put on my smartphone an hour timer and continued writing. I
How old
started,
were you when you started that? How
oh,
old were you?
this had to have been my first novel came out in 2006. So this was, gosh, 15 years ago. But before my smartphone time, my writings just came when I couldn't sleep. So my writings became my dreams and nightmares. I couldn't sleep, so it was therapeutic for me. It's cheaper than therapy. If you have to go to therapy you should go to, and it's good. But for me, it was therapeutic. I wrote and wrote, and in my writings, I cried. Um, I have a challenge for everyone, Peter, and I have one for you, and I have one for myself. You know, when we cry, tears of grieving tears, it tends to be salty, right? It's
Mhm.
our body telling us to get rid of those negative and not so sweet toxins in our body. But when we cry tears of joy, I wonder what they taste like. I
Mhm.
doubt if they taste salty.
They have a different vibration, different consistency, chemical cocktail that is infused into them. I totally get what you're saying. There was
Yeah,
a man hundreds of years ago that was known to say that the feelings of repressed emotions that are not expressed in the form of tears will cause other organs in the body to weep.
yeah, that's powerful. That is powerful indeed. But yes, the discipline started when I was much older of writing every night for an hour. Um, but anytime I had a notebook or something and anything I went through when I was younger, I'd write because it saved my life. It saved, it allowed me to create a world where I can take like a lot of my novella is they're inspired by true events because each of the characters have a little piece of me in there, but I have them go through certain things because it's reality.
Mm.
No, to be human, unfortunately, or to be human is to grow in the midst of the struggles that you encounter.
And because of them,
And because of the struggles, right? And then from those struggles, if we choose to, we find strength.
choose.
From the chaos, we find character, right?
I like that.
From the storms, we also find um, survival, and our superpowers. We all have them. We just have to tap into our ability to adapt, ability to find joy in the midst of the craziness. Because there's there when you smell and inhale, right? You can't hold it too long because some of those things have toxins, so we have to let them go. We let those things go and then we recycle it. Some things come in and fill in our lungs, the good things, but then we can't leave everything there. So we have to, again, exhale and let them go. So it's a cycle that as we breathe, others are breathing in what we're giving out. And so we want to give out things that are positive. So it can take we give out good and negative, the balance, the positives and the negative charges. My faith also plays a role. I just realized um, I lost my religion and found God, right?
Oh, wow. I like that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I lost my religion and found God. I was raised and played the piano for the church and everything. And I realized Christ, the way that Christ was described when I was a child was this um, person that really didn't go through much. But then I
What?
realized that like he went
Uh,
through a lot, but because he was so divine, he was unreachable kind of thing, right?
like it didn't really bother him or hurt him.
Yes. Even though yes, we saw him in the resurrection, because the resurrection is a big part of Christianity. But you also have to remember, before he resurrected, he had to die. A resurrection does not exist, cannot happen without you going through death. So death is not bad per se. It's a transition to something better.
I
The
love that
str-
analogy.
yes,
When you were breathing, I found myself breathing with you, and I thought, wow, here I am living, here I am dying.
yeah,
Each moment as an opportunity. In our soul, within ourselves, we live and die every day.
every day. We live and die every day. What do we get rid of? We get rid of the negative things that were in our lives that we encounter because they're real. You can't ignore them. Being positive doesn't mean that, oh, we're living in a fantasy world. No,
It's a choice.
it's a choice. Yes, somebody might pass gas and it stinks. That's horrible, right? Gas is a toxin that's getting rid of out of their bodies. You know, it's a choice for us to leave the room when they pass gas or spray something,
Uh,
add a different type of scent that's there. But the reality is, it's not easy. But you have to be. It's a constant exercise. And I go back to Christ again, where he was surrounded by, before he went and died on that cross, he was surrounded by, and he knew the people that were going to betray him. He was also surrounded by 12 strong men, his best friends. When he was, about to be crucified, Peter, the rock, betrayed him 3 times. And he knew that. So in life, when people praise you, like Peter praised, yes, called him the Savior, the Messiah, they still betrayed him. So when people shout out and show you love, that's great. I appreciate it. When people, you take it and embrace it and give it back in a sense of gratitude. But when people boo and hate at you and the negativity comes in, take it, learn from it, filter it out. Right? I always tell people, um, fertilizer, fertilizer. Think about fertilizer. It is made
Stinks,
out.
but it's useful.
It stinks, but it's useful. It's made out of cow poop, right? Other poops. But we are that seed, that little seed. That little seed is in between lots of dirt. A seed cannot grow without dirt. And how does that dirt grow and the nourishments grow through that dirt? All that negativity that comes through. And then it's not easy for that seed to crack out of that shell,
A
right?
lot of
And
pressure. Yeah.
then going out of that dirt, it's hard, but you gotta keep going. Right? Characters develop through that chaos of dirt, manure, and people walking all over you in life. In the dirt, they're walking all over you. But you keep going and going. And then as you get out there, there's sun, right? The sun
Mm.
still penetrates through that darkness. The nourishment of the sun penetrates through that darkness. But then eventually, as you get out of that shell, you find the light. And then when you find that light, there's still more. There's there's rain that comes. They're like, oh my God, the rain. I'm so wet. Why the rain? Why the storm? But you need that rain. We need that rain to continue to make our roots stronger, right? To remind us where we came from. We came from that dirt. We came from that manure, but eventually we've overcome it. And then as we go through, we either become a wonderful plant, or a vegetable or fruit to nourish people's bodies, or a beautiful flower to make someone's day. So that little seed is in all of us.
Mm.
The fact that we're alive now today, Saturday, April 10th, 2021, that seed is here. And remember, you will grow. It'll take time. It won't be easy, but you're not alone. And I thank you, Peter, for just reminding me about that process and the importance of that. Daily we die certain things, right? We A lot of things, it's a cycle of killing the negativity, or letting the negativity die and resurrecting what's good.
Now, I see you as someone who's gone through a lot in life, has had some difficulties, and remembers where he comes from. And he's rooted deeply within that and has grown up and now has sprouted fruits. And at this age in life now, you're sharing the fruit, you're feeding others. And someday we'll both die and we'll rot, and the seeds and the fruits we've provided will live on forever. And
Yes.
so I love the legacy that you're creating.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward, and I'm I'm seeing great things to come still for many decades yet. We're young and it's so exciting. And you reminded me of a story I heard about this little boy who brought a caterpillar that had spun itself into a cocoon and it was struggling. And he said, Grandpa, Grandpa, look at this. And the grandpa said, "Oh, no matter what you do, leave it alone. Trust me, son. You know." And he decided to go out on his own, get his little pocket knife out of his drawer upstairs at a farmhouse, and he cut it open, to help that little caterpillar come out. And in the process, the caterpillar didn't develop the strength from the struggle, and soon thereafter died just a few hours later. Whereas it could have been this beautiful butterfly later, and lived for a few more weeks. And he went to his grandfather crying and explained what he had done. And he said, "That's why I told you to let it be, to let go and just let it be." Because those struggles, that's what makes it strong enough to then provide strength for itself to have wings and fly. And he said, "Now this is a great lesson for you because this is you're going to be struggling in the next few decades, but someday you're going to have strength provided through these struggles to actually sprout your wings and fly and be beautiful and shine your light for the world and be inspiring and motivating for others." And I was like, oh man, that's a beautiful story. It reminds me of a belief that if anyone implements this belief, it is useful. And that is life isn't happening to us. Life is happening for us.
Yeah.
That's one of the tools I picked up over the years that I started repeating every day, and it has provided useful for sure.
Yeah. Life isn't life isn't happening to us. Life is happening for us. And I love the caterpillar story because I was once being told that it is the in that when they're squeezed and squeezed, it creates fluid, right? And that's blood, sweat, and tears that we all go through when we feel like we're being squeezed by life, right? And the caterpillar, the fluid that's being created is what's forming its wings.
Hmm.
So the fluid cannot have been created or existed without the squeezing and the pressure.
That is interesting. The human body isn't too different with the lymphatic system. We've got 4 times the amount of lymph fluid in our bodies as we do blood. The blood gets pumped around by the heart, but the lymphatic fluid, it stays stagnant unless we move. And our movement is what pushes that through our bodies and then heals us, makes us healthier every day. And if we sitting around watching Netflix all day, which I love doing sometimes, it doesn't help. Movement is key.
Movement is key. Movement is key to shifting. My daughter talks about, Dad, I want to shift. Like if we want to shift, we have to create that dimension. We have to create that space. You have to create that space where you can thrive. And as your father, like you talked about, that's like, I'll allow you to make those mistakes, allow you to fall, allow you to get back up sometimes on your own. And it's because so then that way you can develop and see the strength you already have.
Isn't that so hard to do as a father sometimes? I mean, watch your kids, they're going to get hurt and fall down, or they're going to go to school and they're going to get bullied and develop a self-image that's debilitating for years. And they're going to struggle, you
Yeah.
know? What do you do? How do you help?
What do
Let
you
go, let be, or, there's got to be a way to upgrade and help them to look at themselves in a different way or, empower them through it all, providing that environment, like your internal environment you created as a child and now as an adult through all of your beautiful writings. That internal environment has now began to manifest into your outside environment and it's coming out of you. You're creating this beautiful life and providing for so many people. Can you share some of uh, your life story and these successes that you've been experiencing because of all that hard work that you have done like, consistently over the years?
Sure, I could definitely do that. I also want to mention to everyone, even at points of success and accomplishments. Remember, we talked about being that plant and that flower. Um, those plants and flowers have leaves, and some days, yes, you've accomplished in being that flower and that fruit, but those leaves, because of just wear and tear, may fall off.
And
So
that's okay.
that's okay. and that's okay. So let's talk about those accomplishments. Um, I was fortunate because of my writing. I tapped into a space where I became, with my daughter, a number one best-selling author on Amazon. We did a book called Big Sister, Little Sister. My daughter started reading at the age of 3.
Oh,
And
wow.
when we had a second daughter, we took a bunch of pictures, and I said, "What can I do with the? I've written books of poetry. What could I do next? I want to write more." So she dictated the words to me, and we wrote that book together. And so that was exciting. And then the books of poetry then transformed into audiobooks. And now, then those books, those characters in the story, those multidimensional characters, one particular character, Grayson Goodman, hence the Goodman Chronicles from IG, I created a world for him. Here we go again. I'm going to talk about the how I balanced those craziness in my life. So in 1996, I had an aunt that was shot and killed in Haiti. Uh, 4 years ago, I had a big sister, and I have a big sister. Today, she's recovering in the she's recovering in the hospital because of she's recovering, and she taught me empathy as a child when I was 10, and because of her, I learned the importance of being in other people's shoes. And so when I write my characters, I write them with empathy. I write them with care and kindness, and I write them with flaws that make them beautiful. And one of my stories currently now, it's a book called Revelations Roads to Redemption. And 4 years ago, my sister, who's now going through what she's going through, she had spent 15 days in a medically induced coma from suffering 3 major heart attacks at once. And she told us when she was in her coma that she heard everything we said. And she said she wanted to tell us that she was okay, that she was going to be okay. And she couldn't. I thank my mom because she has a faith bigger than for all of us. And so I took those moments and created another book called Revelations Roads to Redemption. It's been described as James Bond meets Idris Elba's Luther mixed with Mission Impossible, X-Men, and a dash of Haitian hot sauce.
That sounds good.
It sounds good. And for the characters, that now book pays homage to Wyclef, who again through the arts helped me remember who I was, and I hopefully by paying homage to him, I'm paying it forward to others. And in that story, in that book has now been adapted as a movie. And I serve as the co-screenwriter and producer. And that movie's not to make money. That movie's not to show here what I have accomplished. But that movie is a reflection of uh, 30 plus years of brotherhood that the co-executive producer Harry and co-screenwriter, executive producer Harry, co-screenwriter Samuel Leducer, the director, we've grown up in a church together and we're brothers for years. And that's important. It's very important to be able to survive this thing we call life. You have to have one or two close friends, or at least a core group of people who are always going to be with you. Sometimes you may not have that, but if you don't, remember you still have the light within yourself to come and recognize it's not going to be easy. But with that, you can make accomplishments like writing a book that turns into a movie, right? And the reason why we did this film is so no other kid, right now we're on our journey to submitting to Oscar qualifying film festivals. We're it's about we're halfway to raising our $3,000 to pay for the film festivals, our sound editor, and the fund and our sound editor, colorist, and film festivals. $1,500 were raised. Awesome. I hope we raise the other $1,500 to make sure everyone gets compensated. But we made this movie. The Sweetest Girl is a compelling and provocative love story set in Haiti, haunted by human trafficking and gun violence.
Oh, wow. Very relevant
Very, very.
topic.
And so I'll say it again. The Sweetest Girl is a compelling and provocative love story set in Haiti, haunted by human trafficking and gun violence. And so inspired by true events, my aunt being shot and killed, my sister and her heart attack many years ago, and then the human trafficking that I witnessed in when I was in Haiti. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And so I found a way to put it all in this short film for 23 minutes with again a great team. And I, if anyone wants to see it, DM me on IG. It's only 23 minutes. I can't make it public yet because it'll disqualify us for those Oscar film festivals.
Mm.
But again, it's not about the Oscar. It's not about the film festivals. It's for those who watch this film to know that despite all of that I've gone through, you could search and see my name in Google and see that I'm still here. I'm still alive. Despite that, what you're going through, you're still here and you're still alive. So that you will never, ever have to put that password, die before 21. That's why we did this film. That's why these
Yes.
accomplishments are there. They're not there to get any kind of rewards, to get any kind of praise. I don't need that. What I want is you to realize that you have within you amazing gifts, amazing talents. We all can breathe in, right? Let's remember. Let's do that again, Peter. Let's breathe in and hold, right? And we can't hold it too long because there's some toxins we gotta let go. And so take in and recognize the negative things that are in life. Take in and acknowledge and celebrate the positive things that are in life. And like Mr. Miyagi says, right? Balance is more than just karate. It is a life lesson, and that balance will continue to go on. But through that balance, you can create a legacy, and a legacy that goes beyond you. And like you said, Peter, we will die one day, but death is just a transition to something better. But we die each and every day. So when we
And are
die,
resurrected every
res-
single day. It's a blessing.
the blessing is the resurrection. The blessing is that resurrection of the light that's within you, the seeds that are planted, the ability to find strength through the storm, to find um, character through chaos, and joy and the craziness in life. So I don't know what else to say about that.
You know, I want to acknowledge you for the incredible work that you're doing in uh, being able to uplevel your skills in articulating and communicating and then sharing these beautiful insights and stories and intertwining it, interweaving them all to then create something empowering for others. Tim Ballard is a warrior, along with many others beside him, for this entire sex trafficking movement. And I just came across his work recently. I saw a few podcasts, listened to a story, and I'll admit, dude, I was crying at work like a little baby. I was like, oh my gosh, these poor kids, these poor people, 40 million people a year go missing. 5 million of them are children. And a lot of that isn't just black market organs for sale, it's sex trafficking. And these babies that he's going into these other countries and saving, along with the help of the government officials, can start over. They can be resurrected the next day
Yeah,
and they can begin again.
they can
And
begin.
isn't it interesting how when we go through life, all of us encounter pain. And it's just one moment, that one happening that causes the pain. But then the suffering continues for as long as we choose to focus on it, enable it, empower it, and energize it with our refocusing every single day. So when we go to bed, it's an opportunity to rest and recover, recuperate. And then when we wake up in the morning, we're resurrected and we can begin again and refocus on other things besides that which is causing us suffering from that one moment in time that was painful.
Yeah. And in that pain, we find that we go through that process because, and at refocus, we learn to heal. So there are two things I want to share before I guess we end. Is there's a poem, two poems. It's a mashup of poems. So imagine this, imagine that. Let me tell you where I'm from to let you know just where I'm at. Breakfast in the morning was either eggs or generic cornflakes. See, we couldn't keep up with the Joneses because we didn't have their cake. Things weren't easy in the 80s in New York City. All you saw on the small black and white tube was the mob, kung fu movies, wah, and crack babies. See, mom and Dad working hard, breaking their backs, trying to protect us from the nasty flying roaches and those disgusting big fat rats. Imagine that. Imagine this, imagine that. Let me tell you where I'm from to let you know just where I'm at. I managed to get to school each day, never noticing how the parents paid for the parochial school on Linden in Albany. See, Mom and Dad were working hard for that money, from pushing papers to driving other kids to school. Now I know why I got smacked up when at school I acted a fool. As a matter of fact, imagine that. See, Peter, Saturday mornings we stood in some very long lines, like if we were playing the lottery. But the lines that we were in, we were not receiving any money. It was for that powdered milk and those big blocks of cheese. See, as a kid, I was so embarrassed. But I do have to admit that government cheese do make the best toasted cheese sandwiches. I'll never forget this to this very day. That same building I stood in lines in was the same building I went to school in Monday through Friday. Imagine that. Imagine this, imagine that. Let me tell you where I'm from to let you know just where I'm at. As time went on, we went to another city, a place of so-called brotherly love, a town called Philly. See, things weren't easy in that independent city. I knew 12-year-old mothers with 20-year-old baby fathers. I knew 12-year-old mothers with 20-year-old baby fathers. The sheriff, the sheriff was our neighbor, but it didn't make the neighborhood any better. But I'll never, ever forget those days with my pops when we were the ones giving out the government cheese blocks. So no matter who you are or what you've been through, realize in this life there is absolutely nothing you cannot do. You just simply have to work hard and believe. Believe me. You can say it, you will do it. There's so much you can and will achieve. You just simply have to acknowledge the struggles of the past that led you through this path and realize it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. Imagine this, imagine that. You came into this world at 100 miles and running. The reason you're still here is because you're meant to do something. Others will envy you because they don't know it's already written that your experiences in this life challenges you, Peter Jones, to make a difference. That's it.
That is beautiful, very empowering. Look at where you've been, where you're at, and I'm so excited to see what else you create and where else you go and who else you empower along the way. Where are some places that people can connect with you besides Instagram at Good Man Chronicles?
Thank you, Peter, for the kind words. They can connect with me on yanatha.com. So www.yanatha.com. Also, Twitter/Yanatha as well. Facebook, I'm there as well. So those are areas we can definitely connect with me. And you can find the books on Amazon as well.
Before we end this, is there anything that you would like to say to the children out there going through a hard time? Any tools, habits, beliefs that you can impart that would empower them to upgrade and uplevel their self-image and empower them to create a more beautiful inner environment, which will eventually show up and manifest in their exterior world?
Yes, I do. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship at Miami-Dade College. And one of the questions I always ask my students is, how many of us have ever been picked on? I ask this question because mostly everyone has. One of the reasons why is because you stood out. If you did not stand out, you may not have gotten picked on. So take what stands out about you and embrace it, because that is what makes you unique. In the world of business, everyone is looking for a competitive advantage. Your competitive advantage is you. It's you. What makes you different is what makes you special. What makes you special is your superpower what makes you unique is that you stand out amongst the others. That is your gift, to stand out. So embrace it. They only make fun of you because they don't understand it. And that's okay. They don't have to understand it. You need to love you who you are. Love what makes you different. That way, as you continue to do that, you will upgrade. You will find ways to live a life of significance, not just success, right? A significance that brings you to success. That's part of that journey Peter and I have been talking about. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to stink when you get made fun of, because I didn't like it myself, you know? But remember, the reason why is because you stood out and you stand out. Take what stands out about you and continue to stand out to inspire others.
I love that. Embrace your uniqueness, expand into a greater version of yourself every day. Die each day having done your very best to be resurrected the next morning and begin again.
That's it.
I appreciate so much all that you've contributed to my mindset and my belief system. I really have picked up a lot from the things that you've shared and implemented them repetitively as mantras throughout my day. I set alarms. I make sure I repeat the things I want to remember and refocus, always refocus on those things to sort of get back into my inner world environment that I'm trying to create to then expand into more of what I am and who I see myself to be while I'm in this human body. And you are like a farmer scattering all these seeds everywhere. And, you know, the ripple effect that you're causing, the legacy that I know you're going to leave behind is to me very empowering. And so I really appreciate you coming on the Good Night podcast today. I love you. I love the man you choose to show up to be in this world every day and the messages that you share. Um, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Continue to be the man you are called to be. Answer that call and inspire others to find that call within themselves and leave the legacies for us all.
Thank you so much. The Good and Head podcast. Uh, Thank you so much to all the listeners for listening and for sharing these messages with others on social media. And as you have discussions with your loved ones, uh, please go check this man out, Yanatha, on Good Man Chronicles. Sorry, on Instagram, and check out his website. And if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, please subscribe, share it, and click on the little bell so that you can be notified of more podcasts to come. Good in the Head is also on www.goodinthehead.com and is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. And it is through our connections that I think we can upgrade the quickest because the experiences, the knowledge, the wisdom, tools, tricks, perspectives, beliefs, the habits that are available to us all through the knowledge that we can download from others can be our roadmap into a better version of ourselves. And for sure, that's been the case for me with you. And I appreciate our connection. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the connection as well. You have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.